I'm so happy today to be hosting the webinar with Department of Developmental Services. Today we're going to be talking about self-directed services. And I have Bev McGovern and Pam Hickey from DDS, who are regional coordinators for self-directed services. As you know, self-direction is somewhat new in Massachusetts. I'm not sure, maybe about 5 years old now, not really sure. You can kind of give me a thumbs up if I'm if I'm okay. And more and more people have been signing on, and it's really wonderful to hear the flexibility and control and just the customization of services that make sense to the person versus fitting into a program or an opening somewhere. So at this point, I'm going to, welcome Bev and Pam, who will be starting the presentation. So why don't you take it away?
Great, thank you, Carrie. I'm actually here, as Carrie said, with Bev McGovern, and also on our Ed Wilson from the Southeast and Jen Benoit from the Metro region. And so we're the primary contacts in terms of everything self-direction. We all were hired in the last 6 years, actually, since 2014 when the Real Lives Law was passed. And it really is our pleasure to collaborate with the ARC and other agencies that have interest in sharing this information. The slide that we're looking at right now, we call the Faces of Self-Direction. And I think it's important to look at this slide because you can see that there are folks of different ages, different interests, different abilities, and we really want to make sure that people understand that anyone can self-direct. It really is just sort of deciding and determining how much support they may need in order to self-direct. So some folks are able to do it very independently, while others may need a little bit more support either from their family or their DDS support broker. And as I mentioned, the Real Lives Law was passed in 2014, and that was really a pivotal time for us because although we had started using some self-directed services, in particular in the Boston area, it was a little bit slow to roll out. And the concept of taking a DDS allocation and being able to very specifically gear those supports to what is really prioritized by the individual is really important. Back in 2015, when I was assigned as the regional self-direction manager, we had barely 600 people that were enrolled in self-direction. And at this time, we have over 1,526 people enrolled. So as Carrie mentioned, there's a lot of interest, and we're very happy to be able to participate in this presentation, and also we're sponsoring a number of presentations ourselves, all via WebEx at this particular time, but there definitely is a renewed interest in learning about these services. And we want to give you an idea of why people are choosing to self-direct. We're very lucky that we have 3 participants that are going to share a little bit about their own personal stories, but there's lots of different reasons that people may choose to self-direct. Very important that we acknowledge that people want to be in charge of their lives. They want to have control and be able to specifically choose and select the services that they feel that they need, but also to acknowledge that traditional service models are not necessarily a good fit for everybody. And that could be because of the geographical location or the fact that there are larger groups of people in a congregate setting. It could be that the activities offered in traditional day programs just aren't really that interesting to the individual. So with the individual services that can be offered through both of our self-direction models, people really are able to be quite flexible, have a lot of opportunity to be more creative, and explore the interests that they have. Certainly, the current health issues with COVID have raised people's interest in this because they're just concerned that it's better to be around fewer folks. And so people are able to identify either one or just a couple of providers that they feel more comfortable with and able to continue to pursue their interest. We also have a group of folks that are eligible through ASD only. And for those folks, there really may not be as many traditional services that are yet in place that meet their needs. And they may not really want to be associated with DDS as an agency. And our self-directed programs may offer an opportunity for them to arrange some supports that are beneficial. When we talk about self-directed supports, we want to make sure that we make mention of the principles of self-determination, as these are really the foundation of self-directed supports, where individuals are able to be in control of the most important things in their lives, the activities that they're doing, to be able to have that freedom to pursue the things that are most important. To have an authority over a particular budget that they are offered through their DDS area office, and to be supported in organizing resources that are really relevant to them and in enhancing their life in a meaningful way. There's certainly a lot of responsibility, and the fact that we are enabling people to have that responsibility and to learn how to manage that and contribute in their communities is very important. And also the fact that it was the advocacy of individuals and their families that really brought the Real Lives Law to be what it is. And we want to confirm that those roles, that advocacy really has been key in the way we're moving forward with self-direction. I'm going to turn this slide over to Bev. Whoops, we went one too far. Hold on, Bev. In terms of talking a little bit about, whoops. Hold on, everyone. Sorry about this. We have a little bit of, we're going forward and I want to go backward. Is somebody else touching the slides by chance? All right. Carrie, can you help me? I need to go back to the ASD slide and...
Okay, yeah, well, I was the one who was clicking back, trying to be helpful, but I should have told you first.
Thanks.
Is this where we want to be?
No, one more.
Keep going, a little bit more. A little more, little more, little more. There we go, right here.
Okay, all right.
Yay!
I'll keep my hands off.
So I'm gonna go one slide forward. Yep. Bev, hold on one second here. There we go. So I'm asking Bev to share a little bit about Daniel, who is an individual served through our ASD eligibility.
Yeah. So Daniel is from the Northeast region, and a few years ago, when the ASD omnibus waiver came through, his mom called the area office, and Daniel was attending Gordon College. He had just started. And DDS cannot pay for college. We can't pay for books. But what Cindy, his mom, was looking for was staff to go to college with him. And so she hired 2 staff. One went in the morning and helped him kind of organize his day. It was someone he had known from years ago, and it worked out really well. And then when Daniel, very social, he was involved, he was, in his dorm, he was an officer, he had all kinds of roles. So later on in the afternoon, somebody came in and helped him kind of organize his evening, his homework, so that he had time for his activities. And I'm, happy to say, with COVID and everything this spring, Daniel did graduate from Gordon. He was an opera major, and he's kind of trying to figure out how to move forward. Does he want to go on for an advanced degree or whatever? But yeah, it was a really great option for them.
Great. Yeah, and I think it's important that, again, everybody has different sort of stages of where they're at, and based on where folks are and what they're looking to focus on, we're able to adapt and support them with the self-directed options. Most important to most of the planning conversations is talking with people about their vision. And that really is just sort of a catalyst to understanding and having a clear understanding of what direction the person wants to move. And there will be an opportunity to have conversations with their service coordinator, but we often suggest that person-centered planning is so important. And that's where a team of people that know the individual the best just kind of get together and brainstorm and support that person on thinking about what direction they want to go. And so for some folks, it could be employment, focusing on their health and well-being. It could be that they're artistic, but sort of teasing out all of those questions and figuring out what would support that person to have a great life. And I think it's also important to know that that may not be something that's static, that often the vision can change over the time. And we're going to look a little bit more closely at a young man that I met a few years back, and his name is Jacob. Jacob really knew that he was passionate about animals and had a dream of being a zookeeper. To have a chance to build his own schedule, also spending time with his family. So when Jacob was starting to look at different options when he was turning 22, his family and him visited different programs, and they thought about some of the good benefits of attending those programs. But at the same time, they looked at what wouldn't be a good life for Jacob. And so they considered the things that he didn't want to do, to be stuck inside, to do the same thing every day, and to do the same thing as everyone else. So when they weighed out the good versus the bad, it seemed like self-direction might actually offer him an opportunity to do more of the things that he had in mind. We'll talk a little bit more about Jacob going forward. We also want to give you a little bit of an overview and compare the traditional agency services with Agency with Choice and the participant-directed program. The two self-directed options, Agency with Choice and the participant-directed program, really do offer the most in terms of control and organizing and arranging for those supports. And then the traditional service model, which is probably how maybe 80% of DDS services are currently purchased, are changing a little bit. And again, this has to do with our current health crisis with COVID. Traditional services, number one, are arranged with a DDS contract with a licensed agency. We provide them with the funding, and these organizations, based on whatever their expertise is, might offer community-based day programming. It could be residential services, it could be employment services, and the like. And the expectation is that the agency will hire the providers, the staff to work. They're going to arrange a schedule. They're going to offer different activities. They're going to take care of really all of the planning and all of the administrative roles. So clearly these programs are much more structured and may not offer as much in terms of individual and creative thinking. On top of that, now with COVID, unfortunately, we're not able to have the attendance at the rates that previously were set up before COVID. So where there might have been a community-based day program with 100 people in attendance as the norm, now we've had to roll back and have fewer people attend. I think our traditional agencies have done a great job in trying to be creative and doing a lot of virtual trainings, activities. They're getting together in smaller groups, and now they're really trying to come up with a structure that will work for people as they're able to return to some of the program sites. But congregate settings are not for everybody at this time. Oops. Tell you a little bit more about Agency with Choice. Agency with Choice is an agency directed program, however, with the intent of really offering self-determination and offering people to be very specific about the activities they want to engage in. And this is a picture of Jillian, who is, number one, a self-advocate and somebody that I've had the pleasure of presenting with a number of times. And Jillian does have an agency with choice program where she really is the person that's directing the activities and the needs that, that she has on a day-to-day basis. But yet she works with a qualified agency and is involved in the selection of the employees that she works with. So when Jillian is going to be, hiring somebody new, I'm sure they let the agency know kind of the hours and the schedule and the type of person she would prefer to hire. And then the agency is going to work with her during that interview process. And once she's made her decision, that person, that employee, will actually work for the agency. So they will be the ones that are paying that person's salary. They're taking the withholdings. They're going to be doing her tax withholdings and all of that. And they're also able to support the employee with trainings and information and really are ultimately the employer of record. We find that this is really helpful for people that may not have the time to dedicate to the participant-directed program. And it's an opportunity for people to really learn how to kind of step into that role of being a manager of their program. We love the fact that many of our agency with choice vendors, agencies are very good at networking and supporting people to make connections and even offer opportunities for social connections and often have like great trainings for family members and are really a good starting place for people that are interested in self-directing. And then the participant-directed program is the opportunity for people to really have the most control, to enjoy the most flexibility and independence in directing their services. So they'll work very closely with their area office, typically somebody, it's a special service coordinator or a DDS worker called a support broker. And that person has a little bit extra focus on supporting the person to kind of map out what their schedule of activities would look like. We're going to work with that person to understand the responsibilities of being an employer, to look at job descriptions and interviewing skills and rates of pay. And so it's really a partnership that you're working with your support broker in developing a plan. In this case, we have a separate entity called Public Partnerships, and they actually are providing the financial management, the administrative pieces of the program. So it's still not that the individual is actually paying the providers. We have a separate agency that would be doing that particular component. We really find that people find that self-directed services are very flexible and certainly individualized. And again, the group that we have that will be sharing their stories have very unique interests, and they've been able to carve out a plan and things that they want to do. But we don't want to tell people, the direction that they need to go in. So again, the vision will be something that the individual will be developing with the support of their person-centered planning group. And for some, it will be work. For others, it could be just developing relationships and improving their communication. Oops, I went ahead a little bit there. In this case, we're going back to Jacob, and Jacob has really been able to develop some wonderful, meaningful activities that have helped put him towards his goal of being a zookeeper. So in other words, his volunteer work at the Humane Society and watering the horses, of pursuing his interest and talents in art and making some, he's created some special dog biscuits that he's able to market and to sell on the side. He's able to connect to his community with his friends. He's working on public transportation and delivering Meals on Wheels. All of these things have helped him acquire more and more experience. So he's getting closer to his vision of being a zookeeper. And in the meantime, he's become very well known in his community. He's appreciated by the people that he comes in contact with. and he's really a very happy young adult, and his family feels very, that his self-directed program has really helped him become a very valued community member. When we're sitting down and talking with people in terms of developing a plan, we want to make sure that we look at the whole person and all of the things that are currently part of their life, focusing on that person's personal strengths and abilities, thinking about the people that are in their life that might be able to continue to support them in a natural way, like family and neighbors and coworkers. Technology has become a very relevant part of all of our lives, and we're seeing the value of technology. I expect in the next few years, we're going to continue to see technology become a bigger part of people's lives. But we also want to make sure that we look at all of the other resources that might be available in the person's life, whether that be Social Security, insurance, Medicaid, Mass Health. If somebody's looking at a long-range plan of getting their own apartment, we would want to talk with them about accessing housing subsidies, perhaps PCAs. So as you can see, you know, we're really trying to work together to create a balanced life. And we really feel strongly that all paid supports is not the right message. We really want to make sure that people are accessing a variety of different supports from their community, from their family and friends, and from paid services as needed. So if you're interested in learning about self-direction, I think it's important, number one, to understand that there are some responsibilities. And if this, you know, participant-directed program seems like maybe more than you're able to take on initially, to consider starting with a traditional service model or the agency with choice. We are going to work with you as DDS representatives to understand the different elements of these programs. But there is certainly a learning curve, and it does take some time to lay the groundwork and get started. I do want to share that it is the collaboration of family members as mentors that really is very helpful as well. So we have a number of folks that like to share their stories, to bring that to other folks that are starting, and I think that that can be very helpful as well. But if you know, this sounds like something you're interested, I do want to point out that you can do this kind of as a part-time thing. So perhaps some people are involved in a community-based day program for 2 or 3 days, and then they carve out a day or two of a self-directed program as well. So it is possible to do combinations of services, and that might be a good starting point. The other important thing to note with self-direction is you have to consider the backup plan. There aren't, you know, backup staff as there would be with a traditional agency. So we need to support people in considering what the backup plan might be. For some, it's just that they stay home and they may take a day off from an activity. For others, that it's a family member that fills that spot. Or you might hire 2 or 3 different providers and hope that you're able to have people support each other if they need to take time off. So there are some considerations, and again, this may not be for people initially, but it's still good to know that this is an option down the road. So if you're not ready to self-direct now, maybe in 2 or 3 years, you may feel differently and know that you have that option to come back to learn more about self-direction. So I did just want to, again, share, we have 3 presenters with us. Nathaniel and his mom, Terry, are here. Nathaniel recently went through the Turning 22 process, and it's been kind of a little bit of a journey for them. So we're happy to have Nathaniel and Terry with us today. And I'll ask that, Terry, you turn your mic, your mute off, and I'm going to put my mute on for the time being. And maybe you and Nathaniel could tell us about your journey.
Hi everyone. Oh, you still can't see me. Bear with me 1 second. Oh, okay, for some reason my video isn't working, but I first wanted to start out with letting Nathaniel read his vision statement. Oh, you guys can see us now. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, Nate? We actually followed Nathaniel's lead since he was 14 years old. He had told us that he wanted to do animation and design and run his own company. He's been consistent, and we're working for him, basically. And he gave us our vision statement. We're very lucky to have Pam and Dan Donemeyer and their staff walk us through the beginnings of it. And it all started from Nathaniel's vision. And I'm going to let him give you his vision in his words. Nathaniel, the camera's this way.
Thanks, Mom. I, Nate Adonis Thompson, can totally create my own most greatest, coolest, awesomest, and true legendary strength and virtues company in the entire whole universe. Animation. To create my own TV shows, movies, books, music, sounds, songs, toys, studios, even websites and video games out of arts to help people, and create my own special studios to help people with their own arts too, their own special arts too. I will totally live my mom and dad in a new house with my own room and bathroom. March 11, 2020.
That's when he wrote the first statement. You guys did hear the part, he's never moving out. So, and from that, we actually worked with Nathaniel to develop our vision statement to kind of clarify in that part of our journey. We had said Nathaniel Thompson's vision is to pursue opportunity in the arts. He specifically is interested in accomplishing, developing his own animation, developing his graphic design skills, developing his written skills, and publishing his own children's books that includes for young adults, publishing his own comic books, and developing a cartoon series. Ultimately, he wants to open a studio or a studio resource to help other individuals like himself be able to accomplish their dream of art. He also wants to have volunteers and employees help people in working with his own art production and introducing other young adults who are like him. And when he's saying like him, with his type of disability, accomplish the greatest things ever. So from that vision statement, we were actually able to look at what it means to self-publish, God help us, and how we can do it through self-directed. There's no other program, even when he was transitioning in, that gives an opportunity for people with disabilities in the arts. It's kind of been cookie cutter. I can't possibly see my son's quality of life even have a chance if we didn't have self-direction. Every day he gets up and we work on what his supports are doing. Like, you can't go on campus right now, so he starts HCC next semester, even though it'll be virtual, but he's doing free virtual courses with support. And one of the things I would say, just starting out into the transition, it's worth all the work that you're going to put in. You have great guides to be there, from Pam and her peers to the people that you work in one-on-one. And any question you have, there's the supports. I really do believe that it gave us an opportunity to create a quality life for Nathaniel in what he wants. And that's just Jiminy Cricket the best, especially since he wants to be like Walt Disney. We're not sure if that's going to happen, but at least he has a possibility to dream and make it happen through these supports. Did you want to say anything, Nate?
I really have to. I had to do my art so I can become like Walt Disney on my own way, so I can so my entire whole volunteers and me can work together as a powerful team to do virtues and strengths to the whole people, to help out people, so we can have enough to bring it back home with the meals and bring back Blockbuster.
Excellent.
And create different type newest buildings to make all everyone's happy dreams come true too.
Okay. So thank you for your time. Thank you for having us.
And
That's
thanks for
great.
everything. Bye.
I just wanted to show some of Nathaniel's art as well. He was awarded the first place at a Big E competition, and clearly Nathaniel has some wonderful skills. So Terry, I know that you have found a couple of different providers and have interviewed those folks, and that they've come on board, and you're working to kind of put together a good plan. I think all of us have faced some significant adjustments in our life with COVID, and you had hoped that Nathaniel would be attending school and doing some more actual art out in the community, but we know that that will come along in time. So thanks so much, and we're going to move on to our next presenter, who is from Bev's region, and her name is Danya.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dania's mother, and I'm going to let Dania speak directly to you. She has not prepared a speech, but you will see that she is very determined young lady. Go ahead, Dania. Tell them why you're in self-directed.
I'm in self-directed because
maybe I should start. Let me start. I think that she'll warm up a little bit. Dania owns and operates her own business thanks to Department of Developmental Services and her wonderful coordinators that she works with, Brian Connery over there at the North Shore office in Beverly, and Jacqueline Grant got us started in all of this. Now, Dania has been interested in fashion her whole life, and she actually was able to complete a Barbizon modeling program when she was in high school, and it gave her tremendous self-confidence, and that was our goal, to give her self-confidence. Dania was nonverbal for many years, and this is just, she has grown leaps and bounds. Dania is not very good about participating in programs. Actually, programs, she really doesn't see that a value for her, because she wants to really branch out in fashion. So Dania is interested in makeup and all of that, like all girls her age, but she decided with a former teacher to start a Poshmark business. And Dania owns and operates her own Poshmark business with the help and support of the Department of Developmental Services. And we hire staff that support her. And she's also developing her sewing skills for her fashion. So Dania will get her donations, or she'll acquire merchandise from yard sales or thrift or clearance sales, whatever. And then she will fix them up or clean them up or do whatever. She might add some bling to some of the clothes, whatever, change the buttons, whatever she feels that it needs the fashion touch. And then she'll make sure that all the clothing has to have sizes and tags. And she loves to wash and dry and fold the clothing. And she irons it to make it presentable to set it up for the pictures. She photographs it, and we help her write the description of the merchandise, and then she uploads it to her Poshmark. And Poshmark is very surprised with Dania because she is a Poshmark ambassador. What does it mean to be a Poshmark ambassador?
Means having the highest sales,
Highest sales,
really good ratings,
5-star sales.
5-star ratings, and good comments from people.
So she is a Poshmark ambassador. Poshmark does take a portion of her sales, and I wouldn't say she's going to break the bank, but she's she sold 2 things today. I mean, it may be $5 and $3, but she is productive in her business, and it's given her fabulous presence and confidence. And, you know, we're working towards independence, and she's doing a great job. I want to commend Nathaniel. I thought he did a wonderful job.
Very good.
I wanted to ask Ellen real quick, Ellen and Danya. So last week when we talked in preparation for this, Danya, do you remember I asked you what kind of your vision was for the future? And I was blown away by what you described. Do you remember what that was?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Can you share that?
It was sensory-friendly formal wear for girls.
Yeah, I love it.
Donnie would like to develop her own line of clothing. She's into formal events, so weddings, proms, things like that, but sensory-friendly materials. Danya, what kind of materials would that be?
Chiffon, silk, satin.
No sequins.
Nothing scratchy.
Anything,
no sequins.
No
anything
sequins.
that's flowy and looks like you could dance all night. Something like that.
Fantastic. Awesome.
Wow, that
Thank you
really
so much.
that's a great business enterprise that you have going on, Dinah. I used to be a seamstress in my old days. I went to school and I studied fashion too before I got into the human service field. We have a kindred spirit there, and I wish you a lot of luck in your business. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I just wanted to share these pictures that are wonderful, and thank you so much for sending these in, Ellen and Danya. But here you can see she's got her own little workspace and mannequin and sewing machine and all of the things she needs to do her little special fashion touches. And it looks like you've got a thriving business going.
We're very proud of Danya.
I bet. And then she definitely wants to thank the team from her North Shore area office, and we commend them.
They're the best.
They're the best. That's great. All right, thank you. So we wanted to next talk with Joshua's mom, Karen Gregoire. I'm not sure if Joshua is on the call as well, but Joshua and Karen have had a nice journey, and their story is a little bit different. And I look forward to hearing from Karen. I think she's on.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello, yes we can. You sound great, Karen. Tell us a little bit about why you switched over to the participant directed program, please.
So yes, Joshua, when he turned 22, we initially set him up at a CBDS, and it only took us about 2 months to realize that it wasn't going to be a good fit for him. So we moved to the participant-directed programming right away, full on, not even part-time here and part-time there. We were ready. Josh unfortunately gained about 10 pounds in 2 months in CBDS, which was a big problem for us because he deals with a weight issue to begin with. So we've always taken Josh's lead. He started to self-advocate when he was 19, which was late, I thought, and he really had nothing to say in his IEP meetings ever until he was 19, and we said, you know, you can continue going to school after you graduate until you're 22, and he was like, oh no, I'm graduating with my friends and I'm done with school. And so from that moment on, we just decided to start following his lead, and he's been a great self-advocate. So when we unenrolled him in CBDS and we went to PDP, I closed my business at the time because I knew that this was the direction that we wanted to focus. So within a week's time, we had him a job as a substitute lunch server at a South Hadley middle school, which he loved. And I have to say that Joshua has loved everything he's ever done while he's in the program. Then he gets a taste of something new and he's like, but I love that more. So I'm not going back there. I'm now going to do X, Y, and Z. And so we've always said, oh, well, okay, let's call the city of Chicopee and tell them that, you know, we have a new plan, or let's call DDS and tell them we got a new plan. And so as we started to develop his PDP program, his self-direction, within a week's time, he had the cafeteria server thing, which he was only a substitute lunch server. So he was only going to get called when somebody else called out sick. So that wasn't going to fill his day. So we said, all right, well, what's the next thing? Because we really need to fill his days with something that he loves. And laundry is something that Joshua loves. We've had to retrain his thinking that he doesn't have to launder his clothes he wore today and have them all cleaned for tomorrow, which is what Josh's thought process used to be. So I was at the time a member at a yoga studio, and I said to the owner, hey, Josh would love to wash your yoga blankets. And she's like, oh, he would? That would be fantastic, because I have to do that and I don't like doing it, and I would love to do that. So once a week, Joshua would go with his support worker to the yoga studio and pick up their blankets and bring them back. We have two sets of a washer and a dryer, two sets, one in Josh's apartment and one upstairs. And they would get all the yoga blankets washed, dried, folded, rebagged, and then delivered back to the yoga studio in between yoga sessions. So he would have a time when one yoga class would end and then another yoga class was going to start. So he was working on deadlines too. And so that was just fabulous for him to learn that, you know, you can't sit around while the dryer beeps. You got to get up, you got to fold it, you got to get it back. So again, it was another job, but it was once a week. So we had lunch server, substitute, and we had yoga blankets once a week. So from there, we decided to help him open his own business. So this business was going to be dog walking, pet sitting, cleaning of homes, yards, cars, and companionship. And we got Josh's meme involved to try to come up with a name for this business. And she came up with the acronym CARE, C-A-R-E, which stands for Companion and Right-Hand Man Extraordinaire, which is what we kind of see Josh as, because we'll just give him all kinds of, he's been doing chores since he's 3. He's kind of a right-hand man. So I don't know if you guys can see that. It might be backwards.
Oh, no, it's cute. Yeah, I see it.
But that's his little, that was his little business cards. And then we had t-shirts made for him that had the acronym and the phone number on the back. And so he ended up with almost of that just filled his days. He had people coming over to get their cars detailed. Obviously that he wasn't waxing them, but he was vacuuming them and washing the windows. He had dog walking clients. We would go and do dog walking. When the dog walker would go on vacation and bring her puppies with her, she'd say, Joshua, can you go to the house and take care of the cats? Do their litter boxes, make sure they got their food. He had many people interested in yard work, so raking and bagging leaves. There was a lot of that. Again, Josh loves routine, so he would love to have a set schedule every day. And so when you're running a business, your clients come into you when they come into you. You may have 3 cars that need to be cleaned today, this week, and 1 next week. And so Josh, in his routine, we needed to kind of consider that for him. So 2 years ago this month, I signed Josh up to take martial arts, Taekwondo specifically, through CDH, Center for CHD, Center for Human Development.
Development, yeah, you got it.
Yep, and they offer all kinds of community-based stuff. So we signed Josh up to take Taekwondo, and that's where he met instructor Ken. That was 2 years ago. On Joshua's third class, instructor Ken said, "Joshua, would you like to break something?" And Josh is like, "Oh, yeah." So Ken got out, 2 wood-inch pine boards, because martial artists do all of this competitive board breaking, competitive concrete breaking. And Ken was like, "You want to try?" And Josh is like, "Oh, yeah." And Josh has no fear of anything. It makes him actually a very good maintenance guy, because he'll just clean a toilet and he doesn't care about a germ. So he got up there and he broke, 2, and Ken's like, "Oh," and he put up 5, and Josh smashed through 5. And then it's just history. History was made from there. So Joshua has been practicing martial arts, Taekwondo, for 2 years. He started as a white belt, he graduated to a yellow belt, and then to an orange belt, and he is currently a green belt. A year ago, this coming January, Ken said to him, do you want a job? Do you want to come to work with me? Ken runs a before and after school childcare program, in addition to his martial arts studio. Josh was like, "Yeah." So he's now works for Ken. He works 5 days a week. He's his bus monitor. He's Ken's assistant, because he teaches Taekwondo to the after school kids 2 days a week, and Josh is his assistant. And then Josh does all of the cleaning in the center. This year, because of COVID, Ken's attendance got pushed down, like all centers did, all childcare centers did, to a third enrollment. So Ken went from 120 kids to 40 kids. And Ken searched and searched to open a new location, and he found one. And he and Joshua worked day and night opening this brand new center. And Joshua has now self-promoted himself to co-boss. He is the co-boss at the new center. And you can follow Josh's stories on Facebook. He has a Facebook page that's called Just, J-U-S-T, Joshin, J-O-S-H-I-N, with the little thing, Y-A, Just Joshin, yeah. And we started that page about 6, 7, 8 years ago. Time is getting away from me. And it was really about Down syndrome doesn't suck. It was just, here it is, the good, the bad, the ugly, the whole thing. And that has just turned into, Joshua has about 9,700 people worldwide that follow him and his antics, and they are mostly antics. He's pretty amazing. I'd have him talk to you, but he probably went to bed at 1 o'clock this morning, and he's currently sleeping. And I've actually had to call my other son and say, "Can you come over and go down in Josh's apartment and wake him up, because he's supposed to be ready for work in 10 minutes. Because I'm sitting here with you." So his brother just came over and went downstairs to wake him up. So there's a little time management that needs to happen here. 4 out of 5 days, he would have been up at 7 o'clock this morning to go to work for 1. And today, because I'm on here with you, it is 10 minutes of 1 and he's sleeping.
Well, that's a great story, and I'm really so pleased for Josh. And I did actually Google and watched his YouTube. There's one that a local news station put on that shows Josh competing and breaking the boards, and it's quite remarkable. And when Karen and I talked the other day, you said something, Karen, that I really found very touching. Now that he has his voice, he's able to make choices. He's now got different opportunities. And like you said, you know, it seems like everything is sort of a step in a new direction, and he's able to make choices. And the other thing is that his coach is much more than just his coach. You said he's his boss, he's his Taekwondo instructor, and he's his best friend. And like that really is so lovely.
Yeah, and I have to say that this is all possible because of the PDP. This, you know, if we had to select an agency with choice or a CBDS, Josh would not be who he is today. You know, we knew when Josh was born that he was going to make spectacular strides and things were going to be amazing, but you never know how amazing until doors are opened for you. And so through the advocacy of the Real Lives Law and DDS moving away from sheltered workshops, which is another whole subject. And, you know, Josh was part of those at one point, and he loved them, and he loved his $5 paycheck. And again, it was one of those steps where he, you know, worked at Goodwill, and he loved what he did until he saw what could happen working in a child care center. And then he was like, yeah, I'm not going back there. I'm doing this now. And then it was up to us to help that ball roll along. And it was the same with CBDS. He was like, you know, we always know when Josh is unhappy because he'll say, I can't go today because I stubbed my toe, or I can't go today because my nose is stuffy. Or so when that started to happen with the CBDS, we said, okay, something's going on here. And that, in addition to the gaining weight, we said, all right, we have to do something about this now. And so just a quick wrap up, because I could talk about Josh all day if you hadn't guessed it. I think it was last August, maybe September, Ken, who was a martial arts instructor, boss, he's got so many titles, said to me, I'm going to a breaking tournament in Florida and I want to bring Josh. And I said, without me? And he was like, yeah, without you. Yeah, like, we're going to go and have man time. And my son got on an airplane with a non-family member and flew to another state, and they drove a rental car really fast and they got to do really cool things like any 25-year-old would want to be doing. And, you know, when I'm in the airport with Josh, I'm pushing him in a wheelchair. And when Ken's in an airport with them, they went down the wrong terminal and walking and had to come back. And they were the last two to get on the plane in the right terminal. And he was like, come on, Josh, you can do it. You can do it. And he's just a huge motivator that has just made Joshua's life explode into this independent dream any 25-year-old would want to be living. Okay.
Very nice. Well, all I can think of through each of these stories is, I guess this is why we called it the Real Lives Law. And truly, each of your stories have made me feel really, really touched and so happy for you. The other thing I wanted to say, and this just happened actually in the meeting that Bev and I were on earlier this morning, is you can see that just in your chat and connections with each other, how important it is to share this information and to learn from each other. And that's one of the other true benefits to working in self-direction, is that people network and learn and make connections, and then all of a sudden there's a job opportunity. Karen, I know it's probably none of my business to share this, but Karen is actually working with another individual as a provider because she's got this great experience and motivation, and really, you know, knows a mom and said, why is your kid still going to a CBDS program? Let me see what I can do. And it's going really well. So, you know, these things happen.
And just to add to that, yesterday, we have a slight mouse problem in my house, which we've had for 28 years, but I had a pest guy come yesterday, and I said to him, we need to go downstairs to my son's apartment. My son, Josh, he's 25, he lives downstairs. He has Down syndrome. He goes, oh, I know Josh. I'm like, what? He's like, he works for Ken upstairs. My wife's hair salon is underneath the child care center. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah. And, you know, my son, I have a son with special needs. He goes to Berkshire Hills and he hasn't been there since March. And I'm like, oh, you should talk to your DDS person about the PDP. So I had a half an hour conversation with my pest control guy yesterday. And so I don't know who his worker is, but he's going to be calling you.
Great. That's great. Well, we love the advocacy and definitely it's kind of like snowballing. And Carrie, as you alluded to at the beginning, you know, there's definitely even a more heightened interest right now. So I don't know if I have any other slides here. So I just wanted to wrap up by reminding you of our names and our contact information. We all are working remotely at this point, but if you email us, we certainly can reach out to you by phone. We all have cell phones. And also encourage you to, again, talk with your DDS service coordinator or area office staff that might know about self-direction. And also let you know that on our mass.gov website, there are 4 different videos of folks that are self-directing, and they're on there, and there's some really good information, and those are equally inspiring. And then the Public Partnerships website is here, which is the name of our financial management service. You might find that an interesting opportunity to look around at what programs look like across the country. There are some self-directed programs in other states that Public Partnerships works with as well. So I wasn't able to keep track of questions, but Carrie and all, maybe you can help us there.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I just had to unmute myself. So thanks for a great presentation. I loved all the stories and just what you've done has been really excellent. Okay, so I'm going to go through the chat box. Let's see. Just lots of kudos to Terry and Nate and Ellen and Danya and Josh and his mom for all the things that you have done. So tons of comments in the chat box on that. Thank you. Wendy had a question. So does DDS pay his salary at the after-school program? So I think that's, yeah, I think that's directed towards Josh's mom.
Yep.
So this is going to be, let's see. So when Joshua began with the after-school program, he began as a volunteer. His sister-in-law is his support worker. So she is paid through DDS to accompany him and like come over here and get him up and stuff as his support worker. So most recently, Joshua was put on payroll, and right prior to COVID, Ken was paying him 1 hour for the 3 hours that he worked. He's a businessman. He has to make his profits. He has to pay his bills. He looked at what Josh was capable of doing and what was of value to him and determined that 2 of his hours would be volunteer and 1 hour would be paid. Then we were home for COVID and Joshua did not work at all during that time. And now Joshua just went back. I think he's starting his 4th week back at the childcare, and he is on payroll again. And he's on payroll for more money per hour and for more hours per day. So he is, DDS pays for your support workers that keep him on task. Josh has a whole list of things that he has to do during his day, and his support workers, you know, he may have, you know, 5 good days in a row, he may have 5 bad days in a row. So his support workers are there to keep him on task, especially now that we're doing the mask, the hand sanitizer, the washing the hands, that kind of stuff. So they're very important to him.
Great.
Okay, and then I think we have time for just a couple quick questions. We have another webinar, unfortunately, scheduled. So just Karen was wondering, how much money does DDS typically provide for the ASD eligible?
Yeah, I don't think the word typical is really in the equation. I think really it's based on the individual's needs, what they're hoping to accomplish, and, you know, whether it's through assessments and conversations. Typically the individual and the family work with their service coordinator to put together a proposal. So there isn't really a typical, and I think it depends on, you know, is it employment-based or home services? You know, there's kind of sometimes specific things or sometimes a combination of services.
All right, so there's a couple other questions and we can get those to you, both Pam and Bev. I apologize, but I guess Leo scheduled one right at 1 and it's 1 o'clock, so I need to end this, but I'll make sure that you folks get these chats and you'll be able to answer them. So thank you. Again,
thank you, Carrie. You were really
Pam and Danya.
Thank you,
Ellen and Terry and Nate, and you all did a great job. Really appreciate it. So
awesome, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.